Utando, utando, masire, notando. What we need is love. Utando, utando, hey, love, hey. As we sail across the sea of life, so much pain, worry divides. It's a shame we don't see how we can.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all.
Smile at each other, wish for your brother, help one another, all we need is love.
Welcome back to the Y Factor. The Y Factor.
Mohammed, we're on air. The song's finished.
Are we?
Normal voice.
Oh, okay. Hi guys, welcome back to the Y Factor. We hope you enjoyed our first episode last week. We appreciate all the constructive criticism that was given to us on Facebook. There was quite a lot, so a lot of critics out there.
There was a lot to get through, but we loved reading every one of those posts, so keep them coming. We just want to remind you that if you don't actually have Facebook, you could please send us an email with your thoughts to yfactor@live.com.au, and we'll get back to you as soon as we see the post, pretty much. I'm personally an email junkie, so that'll be pretty cool.
Don't worry guys, I'm a Facebook junkie, so feel free to jump on Facebook anytime and let us know what you think.
We've also got 2 discussion threads happening on the Facebook page, so popping new thoughts over there as well. Put it wherever you want on the Facebook page, really, but the discussion threads are there as well, just letting you know. And yeah, it's
looking pretty good. So guys, we're going to move on to our news headlines for this week, starting off with, obviously,
our biggest local story is the Queensland floods. The floods have stopped flowing now, but it's clean-up time in Queensland. Unfortunately, however, the Victoria floods seem to have just picked up tempo as soon as Queensland stopped flowing. Meanwhile, in Brazil, floods have caused a death toll of about 626 people and counting, and in Sri Lanka, the death toll is around 38 so far, 4 missing, 51 injured. So,
wow.
World's filled with natural disasters at the moment.
It sure is, and I think as we are living in Australia, looking at Brisbane, and I don't think as living in New South Wales we understand how massive the destruction is up in Brisbane. I mean, they're comparing it and saying it's worse than the 1974 floods in Queensland, and they were epic back then. So I think it's to date there's about 20 to 25 people who are counted dead and a total of 90 to 100 people missing, which is massive. And Brisbane is Australia's 3rd largest city, so we all need to, I guess, buckle down to battle the water ahead in whatever way possible. And throughout the segment you'll see how you guys can contribute through monetary, through volunteering. You'll hear stories of people who are taking proactive steps to assist with their recovery efforts, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we've pretty much got a special feature on that today, so if you've been sitting at home and wondering how you could help the people up in Queensland or in Victoria, we'll let you know after the news segment, inshallah. But moving on to our next local story,
which is about spying. Now, spying is apparently on the increase. And this is evidenced by the number of warrants which allow police to spy on suspected criminals. So criminals out there, if you're listening, pay attention. And anyone who knows a criminal, pay attention also.
So we're not talking about convicted criminals, just suspected ones?
Suspected criminals, exactly. And allegedly corrupt police and public servants. It's increased by 67% over the past year. So, in other words, guys, if you're not sort of catching our drift, the courts are allowing the police, they're giving them warrants to plant spyware into suspected, as Moran mentioned, criminals' houses. So you can be suspected of a crime, for example, and the vase or the portrait you see in front of you, the eye might twitch. So if that happens, then we suggest you refurbish the entire house and make sure there's no spy equipment in there, because it's on the increase.
Okay, I think Mohammed's taking the joke a bit far there, so we'll move on to the next story, which is about the Afghan refugees. Australia has pretty much had come to an agreement with the Afghan government to deport thousands of Afghan asylum seekers after reaching Australia. So if their bid for asylum fails, basically they apply to Australia to become asylum seekers, Australia rejects them, then Australia is allowed to deport them straight to Afghanistan. And this obviously is something that's really alarming to people who are supporting refugee rights and, people involved with security of Australia.
Exactly. There's about 2,600 Afghans currently in Australia's detention centres. And of those who are in detention centres, 49 of them must win court appeals to avoid imminent deportation. So it's a deplorable fact. And I think, as Moran was saying, it's very sad actually that people do leave their hand. They seek asylum. Countries such as Australia and Western nations who do live sort of a peaceful life and aren't afflicted by war and stuff. And they're facing this at the moment.
Yeah, pretty sad. Our next story is about
a man who escaped from Silverwater prison. Now, this is quite funny if you really pay attention. He's a 24-year-old man who was serving an 18-month sentence, and he had 1 month to go. But yesterday I thought, you know what, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to escape 1 month before my sentence is over. And he's from Silverwater prison.
That was really, really a stupid move, because that means once he's caught, he's back in for, 5 years?
Yeah, approximately 5 years.
He only had 1 month to go.
Guys, patience is a virtue, and it pays off in all respects.
Obviously,
and the next story, quite intriguing. It's about Facebook, and we know you guys all have a Facebook. Don't deny it.
So basically, a security expert is warning users of Facebook that they have to get rid of their home address and their mobile phone numbers from your profile, because now the website, as in Facebook, gives access to third parties to that information. So a random third-party person can access your mobile and home address details, even if you haven't actually necessarily allowed it on your profile. Kind of like when Vodafone's details were available to the public.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a pretty scary thing too.
Moran, do you want to take a guess at how many Facebook users there are worldwide?
I don't know, 10 million.
500 million plus. Ooh. So that's a lot of home addresses and mobile numbers. But just in general, guys, like besides if this security expert didn't say this, be very, cautious when it comes to putting personal information on public social networking sites like Facebook, such as Twitter and MySpace, because God knows where your information can go. So just put what you think is necessary.
Yep.
All the games people play now, feel the flames.
And we have a really interesting story come up. It's actually about a hijabi from Brisbane. Okay, she's set to be the first female Muslim F1 driver, Formula One driver. She's a university student, just 19 years old, and she's got a passion for fast cars.
Exactly, that's pretty intriguing. That's not all she's done. She's actually won the Young Queenslander of the Year in 2010 last year. She coaches a soccer team for Muslim girls. Wait for it.
I love the name of this.
The soccer team's called Shin Pads and Hijaz.
It's just...
She's also very active in the Queen community. At the age of 16, it says she set up a network for community-minded teens called Youth Without Borders. So good on her. She's of a Sudanese background. And mashallah, we admire her for
her courage in stepping up to take a first that, other
exactly getting out of the comfort zone and the norm of what girls are meant to aspire to. I mean, that's her passion, which is to drive fast cars, and go for it. And you can do, as you mentioned last week, when you do become famous and successful, inshallah, one day, all your listeners are, okay, don't deny it, inshallah, one day, you can represent your deen. It's a great dawah opportunity for the thousands of non-Muslims who will, and possibly the millions who will come in contact with you throughout your lifespan.
Yeah, inshallah. Actually, we've got an interesting international story here. It's pretty much like the biggest news of the week internationally. The Tunisian President Ali ran away from Tunisia to Saudi Arabia after his people protested and asked him to resign. not so nicely asked him to resign. We had 29 days of protests happening there, actually. It was pretty intense. But the interesting part here is that his wife, when she came to run away from Tunisia, well, she felt like she'd be leaving something really important behind. So she paid a visit to the bank, picked up 1.5 tons of gold.
Surprise, surprise.
In case you don't know how much that really is, it's actually 60 million US dollars. She cleaned it out of the Tunisian central bank, and she ran away out of the country to Dubai.
Wow. So if you see a lady out there who's pretty much
got heaps of glitter on her,
dressed in gold, gold earrings, a gold t-shirt, gold pants, a gold wallet, the usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, just try and link her back to this story and ask her for some money, because she's probably got a fair bit on her.
That's 60 million US
dollars. Wow.
Yeah.
But surprise, surprise, she ran away and she cleaned out his bank account.
And never came back the next day.
Indeed.
Let's spark a change that's within all of us.
And for a little bit of variation, we've got this joke here to spice some things up, right? It goes like this. A blonde goes into a nearby store and she asks the clerk if she can buy the TV in the corner. Now, the guy says to her, sorry, we don't serve blondes. I'm not going to help you today. So the lady goes, she buys some hair dye, she goes home, she dyes her hair black, and she comes back the next day. There's a different clerk serving, and she asks him, can I buy the TV in the corner? He says to her, sorry, we don't serve blondes. Okay, so she thinks, all right, maybe the blonde was showing through the black, goes home, buys some more dye, changes her hair color to red, and shows up the next day. And this time it's a lady working in the store, and she says to her, oh, can I buy that TV in the corner? And the lady says to her, no, I'm sorry, we don't serve blondes. Now, the blonde's going crazy, like, how do they know? I dyed my hair 3 times. So she's saying to her, how do you know I'm blonde? How can you tell? I've changed my hair colour. And the salesperson says to her, because that's not a TV, it's a microwave.
They never get old.
I love blonde jokes. But, this wasn't a random joke for the sake of joking. It's actually a purpose behind it.
Of course, there always is.
Yep. There was a study conducted by the London School of Economics, and it basically says that blondes possess greater intelligence and they have an IQ of 14 points above average.
I beg to differ, Moran.
Yeah, well, the jokes beg to differ too, but they're wrong. This is a real report, and the children of blonde couples will get to inherit both good looks and brains, building a genetic link over successive generations, according to the report.
Wow, that's I guess the best of both worlds, isn't it?
Maybe we should stop making fun of blondes and start learning from them.
Possibly. See, breaking news, you're on the Y Factor.
It's definitely a new perspective. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back with our Spotlight segment. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Y Factor.